Everyone at the funeral thought the homeless woman was crazy. She stood at the back of the room, barefoot, shaking. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her hair was matted. Her eyes looked hollow but sharp, like she'd seen too much. And then she screamed 3 words that stopped everything. "Wait! He's alive!" The room froze. 200 people in expensive black clothes turned to stare. Diamonds caught the light. Their faces twisted with disgust and pity. The kind of look rich people give when poverty gets too close. The billionaire's wife didn't gasp. She didn't look confused. She went pale. Not grief pale. Not shock pale. Guilty pale. Because everyone in that room believed the man in the casket was dead. But the wife knew something different. And this homeless woman, trembling and broken, knew it too. And if she spoke one more word, every lie would shatter. The funeral had been perfect until that moment. White roses everywhere. A string quartet playing soft music. Speeches that made the dead man sound like a saint. Richard Caldwell had been more than rich. He'd been powerful. The kind of man who owned buildings and bought politicians. 52 years old. Heart attack. Sudden. People whispered it was bound to happen for someone who never slept and drank too much. His widow stood beside the casket wearing black designer clothes and expensive pearls. Victoria Caldwell, 46. Beautiful in that maintained way where you can't tell what's real anymore. Her makeup was perfect. Not a single tear had smudged it. She'd given a speech earlier. Calm. Elegant. She talked about Richard's success, his charity work, his vision. She never once mentioned love. People noticed. But no one said anything. In their world, marriage wasn't about love. It was about business. About keeping up appearances while living separate lives. The homeless woman had slipped in during one of the speeches. Security hadn't stopped her because the doors were open. She moved quietly, finding a spot behind a pillar. People saw her the way you see furniture. There but not important. Until she screamed. Until she pushed forward, stumbling past expensive suits and dresses, her dirty hands leaving marks on their clothes. "He's alive," she said again, louder. "Richard Caldwell is alive in that casket." The room went silent. Every sound disappeared. Victoria's face changed fast. Surprise, then fear, then she settled into a look of fake concern. "Someone help this poor woman," Victoria said softly. "She's clearly sick." 2 security guards moved in. Big men in dark suits. They grabbed the homeless woman's thin arms. She didn't fight. She just stared at Victoria. "You know what you did." Victoria smiled gently. "I don't know you, dear. But I can see you're suffering. Let these men help you. We'll get you food and—" "You paid the doctor to say he was dead." The smile cracked. "You're confused," Victoria said, her voice harder now. "My husband died of a heart attack." There were doctors. Witnesses. A death certificate. Signed by Dr. Nathan Cross. Victoria went completely still. The homeless woman's voice got stronger. "I know his name. I was there. In the hospital parking garage. I saw you give him money in a black envelope. I saw you kiss him. I heard you tell him it had to look natural." Someone in the crowd gasped. A man in an expensive suit appeared beside Victoria. Her lawyer. He whispered something fast in her ear. Victoria nodded, then spoke to the room. "This woman is clearly disturbed. Out of kindness, I think we should. I have pictures." The room exploded with whispers. The homeless woman reached into her coat. Everyone tensed. For a second it looked like she might have a weapon. Instead, she pulled out an old phone. The screen was cracked. It was held together with tape. "I took photos," she said. "Of you. Of the envelope. Of the car's license plate. Of the text message on your phone when you left it on the bench to light your cigarette. Before you go any further, stop right here. Hit that subscribe button now. What's about to happen will break your heart and make you question everything you thought you knew about right and wrong. Click subscribe because you need to see how this ends. Do it now." A man stepped forward from the crowd. Marcus Webb. Richard's business partner for 20 years. He was 60 with gray hair and tired eyes. He loved Richard like a brother even though he knew Richard wasn't a good man. "What's your name?" Marcus asked the woman. She blinked, like she'd forgotten people could ask her that. Claire, she whispered. Claire Morrison. Claire, can I see those photos? She handed him the phone with shaking hands. Marcus looked at the screen. His face hardened. His jaw clenched. This is a bank transfer, he said quietly. $75,000. From Victoria Caldwell to Dr. Nathan Cross. 3 days before Richard died. The room erupted. People started talking all at once, pulling out their phones. Victoria's face turned red. That means nothing. I donate money all the time. Medical research. I don't have to explain my. Then why didn't you mention it? Claire's voice cut through the noise. Why hide it? I didn't hide anything. I don't announce every donation I make. And I don't owe explanations to a stranger who broke into my husband's funeral. He's not dead. Victoria stopped talking. Claire took a step forward. The guards held her arms, but didn't pull her back. Even they wanted to hear this. Richard Caldwell was injected with something. A drug that stops your heart and slows your breathing. Makes you look dead. But you're not dead. You're trapped. Awake. Screaming inside a body that won't move. Someone in the crowd made a sick sound. Claire kept going. It lasts 6 to 8 hours. Long enough to be declared dead. Long enough to be put in a casket and sealed. And then it wears off. You wake up. In the dark. In a box. And you die slowly. Suffocating. People started crying. Not for Richard. For the horror of it. Victoria's mask fell off. Her face twisted with panic. She's insane. Marcus, you've known me for 15 years, you can't believe. I believe her. Everyone turned. A man stood in the doorway. Early 40s. Handsome but exhausted looking. He wore medical scrubs under a jacket. His eyes were red. His hands shook. Dr. Nathan Cross. Victoria made a choking sound. Nathan walked into the room slowly, like he was walking to his execution. I believe her, he said again, looking at Victoria, because everything she said is true. His voice broke. And I helped you do it. He turned to face everyone. My name is Dr. Nathan Cross. I'm a cardiologist. 6 months ago, Victoria came to me with a plan. People started recording on their phones. This was going to be everywhere. She said Richard was abusive. That he hurt her. She showed me bruises. Text messages. She cried in my office. His voice cracked. I believed her. Victoria's eyes went wide. Nathan, stop. She asked if there was a way to make his death look natural. I said no at first. But she kept coming back. Kept showing me proof of what he did to her. And I fell in love with her. Somewhere between trying to help and falling in love, I agreed. He looked at Victoria. And she looked back. Everyone could see it. How two people could destroy each other. I gave her the drug, Nathan continued. Taught her how to use it. Timed it so he'd collapse at home. Be brought to my hospital. I signed the death certificate. I lied on all the records. I helped seal the casket early. He turned to Claire. But I couldn't let him die. I came here to stop it. Marcus looked at Victoria. Is this true? Her lawyer started talking fast. My client won't answer questions without proper legal counsel present. He hit me. Everyone stopped. Victoria's voice was quiet. Empty. One time. 3 years ago. We were fighting about his mistress. The 22-year-old girl he kept in an apartment downtown. He hit me. Split my lip. Then he cried and said sorry and promised it wouldn't happen again. She laughed. It sounded broken. It didn't happen again. Because I never confronted him again. I smiled. Played the perfect wife. And I planned. Because you don't divorce Richard Caldwell. He would have destroyed me. Taken everything. She looked around the room. I wanted him dead. I won't lie. He was cruel. Unfaithful. He treated people like objects. But I didn't think. She turned to Nathan. Tears ran down her face. I didn't think you'd actually do it. I thought you'd talk me out of it. You wanted me to say no, Nathan said. So you could be the victim who tried instead of the woman who succeeded. Victoria stared at him. Then nodded slowly. I didn't want to be a murderer, she whispered. I just wanted to stop being his wife. The room was silent. Because everyone there knew Richard. Some had seen Victoria's bruises that she explained away. Some had heard him insult her at parties. Some had watched him flirt with their daughters while his wife stood nearby. Marcus spoke carefully. Victoria, if he was hurting you, there were other ways. Were there? She looked at him. Really, Marcus? You've known him forever. Would you have testified against him? Would anyone? No one answered. Claire stepped forward. Her voice was soft but strong. You might have had reasons. Good reasons. But you don't get to kill someone because divorce is hard. Victoria turned to her. What would you know? You don't know what it's like to be trapped. You're right, Claire said. I don't know what it's like to be trapped in a big house with a man I hate. But I know what trapped feels like. I know what it's like to have people look through you like you're invisible. To beg for help and have everyone turn away. She moved closer. I was a nurse. 10 years at the hospital. I had a house. A daughter. Then my ex-husband got custody because I worked too much. I lost my job because I fought for my kid. Lost my house. Lost my daughter. The system said she deserved better than a mother who lived in her car. Claire's voice shook. I've been homeless for 4 years. And I've learned something. Everyone has reasons for terrible things. But reasons don't bring back the dead. She looked at the casket. I don't know if Richard deserved to die. Maybe he did. But he doesn't deserve to suffocate in that box while we stand here arguing. Marcus moved fast. He walked to the casket and put his hand on the lid. We need to open this now. Victoria's lawyer tried to stop him. You have no legal right to. A sound came from inside the casket. Weak. Barely there. But everyone heard it. A voice. Help me. The room erupted. People screamed. Security rushed forward. Marcus threw open the lid. Richard Caldwell lay inside. His eyes were half open. His chest moved in short, desperate breaths. His lips were blue. His fingers were bloody where he'd scratched at the fabric lining. He'd been awake. The whole time. Listening to everything. Someone called for help. Nathan pushed through and checked Richard's pulse. He's going into respiratory failure, Nathan said. We need help now. People crowded around. Someone ran for emergency equipment. The musicians had stopped playing. One of them was crying. Victoria stood frozen. Watching. Her face showed nothing. Richard's eyes found her. He couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. But he looked at her. And she looked back. Something passed between them. Not love. Not hate. Something more complicated. The kind of understanding two people have when they've destroyed each other completely. The ambulance arrived fast. They loaded Richard onto a stretcher. Put an oxygen mask on him. Started in 4. The paramedic said he'd probably survive. That they'd found him just in time. As they wheeled him out, Richard's hand shot out and grabbed Claire's wrist. His grip was weak. She leaned down. He couldn't speak. But he looked at her with something like gratitude. You're welcome, she whispered. They took him away. Sirens fading into the distance. Police came 10 minutes later. They arrested Victoria. Arrested Nathan. Read them their rights while 200 people watched in silence. Victoria didn't fight. She walked out with her head up, still wearing her pearls. Nathan broke down. He sobbed as they put him in the car. Kept saying he was sorry until the door closed. Claire stood alone in the empty chapel. Some people looked at her with respect. Some with pity. Most didn't look at all. Marcus walked up to her. You saved his life. She shook her head. I just made people look. He handed her a card. Call me tomorrow. I want to help. She took it. Why? Because you did what none of us could. You didn't look away. The trial took 6 months. It was on every news channel. Everyone had opinions about domestic abuse, about justice, about the homeless woman who saw everything. Victoria was convicted of attempted murder. 18 years. The jury felt bad for her. You could see it on their faces. But feeling bad doesn't erase what she did. Nathan got 12 years. He testified against Victoria. Gave them all the evidence. He looked empty by the end. Like something important had been taken from him forever. Richard survived. But surviving isn't the same as living. The drug had damaged him. His memory had holes in it. His hands shook. He panicked in small spaces, in the dark when he smelled roses. He quit his company, sold most of what he owned, lost even more in lawsuits. He ended up in a normal apartment. 2 bedrooms. Nothing special. Nothing like the mansion he'd left behind. 6 months later, he found Claire. She was living in a shelter. A better one. Marcus had helped her get a bed there, connected her with people who could help. Richard showed up one afternoon, knocked on her door. She opened it, saw him. Her face didn't change. "Can we talk?" he asked. They went to a diner, sat by the window, ordered coffee they didn't drink. "I wanted to thank you," Richard said. "You already did. I wanted to say it again when I could actually talk." Claire studied him, saw the tremor in his hands, the weight he'd lost, the fear in his eyes. "How are you?" she asked. He laughed bitterly. "Alive. I guess that's something." "Is it?" He thought about it. "I don't know. I heard what Victoria said. About me. And she wasn't wrong." Claire waited. "I was terrible to her," Richard said. "I was terrible to everyone. I thought power meant I didn't have to be kind. That being feared was the same as being respected. And now? Now I know what powerless feels like. What invisible feels like. How it hurts when people look through you." He met her eyes. "I lost everything. My company. My reputation. My money. Everyone who called themselves my friend. And honestly, I deserved it." "Maybe," Claire said. "But you didn't deserve to be murdered." "Didn't I?" She reached across the table, put her hand over his. "No. You were a bad husband. Maybe abusive. Definitely not a good person. But that doesn't mean you deserve to be buried alive." Richard's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to be different." "Neither did I," Claire said. "But we figure it out as we go." They sat quiet for a long time. Finally, Richard spoke. "I have some money left. Not much. I want to do something good with it. I thought maybe you could help." 3 months later, they opened a place for homeless people. Not just a shelter. Something more. With medical care, job training, counseling, legal help. A place that treated people like they mattered. They called it Second Chance. Claire ran it. Richard funded it. They worked long hours side by side. The woman who'd lost everything and the man who'd had everything and learned it was worthless. They never became friends exactly, but they became partners, working together to turn something broken into something useful. Years passed. Second Chance grew. They helped hundreds of people. The media loved them. The reformed billionaire and the homeless woman who saved him. But late at night, Claire would find Richard sitting alone in the empty cafeteria. Just sitting. Staring at nothing. She'd sit beside him. Wouldn't say anything. Just be there. Because surviving something doesn't mean you're healed. Having a second chance doesn't erase the first. Some scars never close. Richard died 7 years after the funeral. Brain aneurysm. Probably from the drug. Probably from stress. Probably from everything. He collapsed at Second Chance during dinner. Claire was there. She held his hand while they waited for help. He looked at her. Smiled weakly. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For not letting me die before I learned how to live." He died before the ambulance came. The funeral was small. 20 people. No speeches. Just quiet understanding that some lives can't be summarized. Claire scattered his ashes in the ocean. Stood on the beach alone watching them disappear into the water. She cried. Not for who he'd been. For who he'd almost become. For the fragile thing that was just starting to grow before it got cut short. When she finished, she drove back to Second Chance. There was work to do. The place had grown. They served 300 people a week. Had a waiting list. This was Richard's real legacy. Not the buildings or the money. This. Claire worked until midnight. Then went home to her small apartment. 1 bedroom. Clean. Safe. She made tea. Sat by the window. Looked at the city lights. She thought about the funeral 7 years ago. The moment she chose to scream instead of stay silent. She didn't regret it. But she didn't celebrate it either. Because the truth was messy. She'd saved a man who'd done terrible things. She destroyed a woman who'd been both victim and villain. She'd exposed a doctor who'd tried to do right and did wrong instead. But she'd do it again. Because the alternative was silence. And silence was just another kind of death. Here's what I need from you before you go. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the homeless people you walk past every day, if it reminded you that everyone's story is more complicated than it looks, then you need to share this. Click that share button right now. Send it to 5 people. Post it. Let people see this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I tell stories that matter. Stories that make you feel something real. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the next story might be even more powerful than this one. Don't just watch. Be part of this. Subscribe now.